My name is Kaah Menang. I'm a meteorologist working for the Cameroon Met Service. For the past 1 year, I've been on a WMO at ECMWF in Reading. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present the application that I've been developing using the CDS toolbox. I would like to start by thanking Eddie and James for the assistance in the development of this application, as well as the assistance in other aspects of my fellowship. Okay, 3 points for this presentation. The first, I will tell you briefly about my fellowship at ECMWF. The second, I will discuss the application that I've been developing using the CDS toolbox. And the third point, I'll just conclude my conclusions and recommendations. Okay, so WMF fellowship at ECMWF. So the fellowship started in September 2021 and ended in August 2022. And the aim of the fellowship was to develop applications for Africa within the CDS team. Before I started work on the CDS toolbox, I had very little, not much experience with the CDS. In fact, I've never used a CDS toolbox before. And my Python skills, I had just basic understanding and use of the Python programming before I started my fellowship. Okay, so now the application under development. So far, I've been developing an application for agriculture. As I mentioned earlier on, the aim of my fellowship was to develop applications. There was not specific application. So when I started my fellowship, I had some discussions, some meetings. I settled on developing an application for agriculture. And this application, the name of the application, I call it African Climatic Indicators, which is based on ERA 5 monthly and CMEP 6 projection data. I'll come to this later on. Now, the next thing is, why did I choose an agriculture application? In Africa, agriculture is the major economic activity. For instance, in Cameroon, it accounts for about 70% of the labor force and 40% of foreign earnings. So you realize that, information on climate variability and change is very, very crucial for sustainable agriculture in Africa. And who are the target users for this application? The target users are the agro industries that they cultivate biennial and perennial crops. So long-term past and future climate change and variability are important for their farming practices and crop yield projections. So this application will provide historic and future climate information which is required by these agro industries. Now some details on the data set. As I said, I used the ERA 5 monthly average data set on single levels from 1959 to present, and as well as I used the CMEP 6 climate projections. And for this case here, I selected the monthly average and two scenarios, SSP2 4.5, which is the medium greenhouse gas emission, and SSP2 8.5, which is a high greenhouse gas emission. And of course, I also selected the data at single levels, and in order to have, to account uncertainty in the projections, I decided to use 12 modules for this work. And from this data set, I chose 5 indicators for my application: the average 2-meter temperature, the total precipitation, soil moisture, evapotranspiration, and the 10-meter wind speed. Okay, so how do you visualize this application? Now, the area averages for 3 administrative levels of Africa. The selected period, this period here means either is from ERA 5 or from CMEP 6 projection data, and the scenario, which is either SSP2 4.5 or SSP2 8.5, and the indicator, which is one of the 5 indicators I just mentioned. You can visualize them on an active African map. And, not just blank map, but for 3 administrative levels, the country, sub-country, and sub-country. And if you click on any region, on any of the region or any average, any period scenario, an indicator, you can get a time series plot. You can get a time series plot for. Okay, so in the next three slides, I'll show you some examples, some examples of application. I can visualize it. We have the first case here is the Era 5 country, so the, zero administrative level for Cameroon. So you see on the right, you have the African map with with the data, and then on the left, you have the African map with the data, and then on the right, you have the time series plot. This is an example of temperature for Cameroon. And then you have administrative level 1 on the left, and the time series for one of them, which is the central region of Cameroon, again temperature. And then you have here administrative level 2, again temperature. Pick another example from Cameroon to show the time series. Now the next thing now is the first scenario, prediction data SSP 24.5. I pick an example of Algeria to show the precipitation data and the time series on your right. They have the administrative level 1. You can find the time series for one of example of a province in Algeria. On the right, still for precipitation. And here you still have administrative level 2 for district in Algeria. You have the time series on the right. And for all of Africa, I have it on the left, of course. And then for the second scenario, SSP2 8.5, here I choose South Africa and the win. Here you can see the area averages on the left and the time series on the right. I have a province in South Africa, administrative level 1. We have the win, the time series on the right, and then area averages on the left. You have the administrative level 2 for Namakwa district, South Africa. So again, you have, for other parts of Africa, I have it on the left, and then the time series for this district is on your right. Okay, so now we'll move on straight to the conclusion of now the work on this application, the African Agroclimatic Indicators, is final stages. The aim of it is to get it published on the CDS, CDS data store. From my experience, the CDS toolbox is a very powerful tool for downloading data and developing applications. But unfortunately, advanced Python programming skills is required to use it effectively. So for me, who had very basic understanding of Python at the beginning of my fellowship, it was a steep learning curve for me using the toolbox, despite the tutorials. Now, well, the toolbox, as you all know, has wrappers in Python, which made my little knowledge of Python almost useless. But with the strong support from James and Eddie, I was able to push through with the development of the application. So, based on my experience, I would recommend that the CDS toolbox be redeveloped to make it more direct Python and less wrappers. And if possible, it should be made in an interactive environment such as Jupyter Notebook for easy learning. The CDS toolbox has so many advantages. For instance, there's no need to download data onto a local computer for application development. And I think this will encourage African-made services to use it. The major challenge for me would be the Python programming skills that is required for the current toolbox and not necessarily the internet connection. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. This is the end of my presentation.